R&B diva Sherelle. She's up next. Let's talk. What's up, everybody? How are you doing out there? Thank you guys so much for tuning in over here to another episode of Pippi's Point of View. Woo, let's talk. Let's talk. Get them back on the phone. Call them back up. It's time to have a real serious talk. And I mean, really, like a serious talk. We need to call them up seriously. And that would be Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. We need to call Sherelle. We need to get Janet Jackson on the phone. Okay? Call them up. I got some questions. I seriously do. As a matter of fact, call up the R&B divas. Just call them up. Call them up. And let them know we're talking over here. And I got some questions. And maybe they can help me with some of these answers. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to lean to my own understanding. So we've been talking about Sherelle in her career. And these past few divas who I have not talked about yet, I will. I don't know, something in my mind, it just dropped in my mind and says the making of an R&B diva. So we're talking about the making of an R&B diva. All right, stick around because I don't know how long this video is going to be, and it could be an hour long. But this here is some in-depth discussions. I've been holding back, really, purposely holding back because, well, I've just been holding back. And I guess one part of it is I don't know what I would say would offend someone, and since I don't have the person or persons in front of me, to talk about it, to kind of feel their way through it, to kind of see, if this particular statement or comment is offensive, I wouldn't know. So I'm kind of holding back as well because that's not my intentions, to offend. We don't gossip over here. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying we. I know it's just me, but I'm saying like we. We don't gossip over here like that. So, but I still want to know. Okay? So that's number one. And number two, well, I don't know. I guess I've just been holding back just because. Okay? But I think now I'm going to have to just give it all I got. Okay? And also, too, I don't want to come off like a know-it-all. Even though some people probably say, well, you already do that. No, it's just that what I know. So I'm sure about that. It's just that I don't have the bigger picture. So when you come in and we have, giving me some extra, I'm like, oh, okay, I never considered that. Okay. So that in itself, having that dialogue would kind of, broaden my, mind frame so that I won't be so narrow-minded in certain situations. So that's number one. And then again, every now and then I might come across a video. Okay. Now that I'm looking at, I'm doing my, YouTube channel. I don't watch other people's YouTube channels like that. Not people who do what I do. And so every now and then I could come across a YouTube channel. Honestly, I'm like, I know where you got that from. You got that from me. I know you did. Nobody was talking about that like I was. I know so. So then I tend, because I know my channel is small. You don't need me lying. Like I have so many subscribers. I know what my biggest video my I guess as far as viewers was up somewhere probably around 7 or 8,000 views on my most popular video. And I'm at 350 subscribers. So I know people are watching. That's what I'm about to say. I know that. And I know people are watching. So I've noticed that, when it comes, I'm holding back too, because when it comes to other YouTube channels who are bigger than mine, I'm like, well, I know you can take what I got because your channel is already bigger than mine, and you can make it seem like it was your point of view, about this particular topic. You can really take it and run with it and get the numbers you want. So I'm holding back on that end as well. But I know for the people who watch me, I'm not doing them a service by holding back. Okay. So therefore, that's why I say from here on out, I'm just going to have to give it all I got. Sorry for that little 5-minute rant, but it serves a purpose. Now get the folks on the phone. We're talking about the making of an R&B diva. Woo, child. I used to have the perspective of an artist. And everything in my head was about the artist. I'm going for the artist. I really am. And it wasn't until here recently that I was like, I don't know. I'm almost thinking that I can understand where the executives are coming from. I was like, oh gosh, am I about to agree with some executives? Really? Executives? I was like, okay. Ugh. And now I find myself looking at it from a different perspective, in that we have Sherelle. Okay. And Sherelle, it has nothing to do with you, love. It really doesn't. I want you to understand it's just that we're just on you. I'm covering your music. And so it just so happened to be you. I told you, I just go with the flow over here. But if Sherelle is watching, then hopefully she will probably go, he understands it. Right? He understands. I can see that he kind of understands it and kind of getting a bigger picture. All right. So that's why I'm saying, follow me. Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Janet Jackson, Sherelle, y'all still with me? Okay. I'm going to have to talk like I'm talking to you guys now. You understand? Because I want to know. Who best to know than ask you guys, right? So Sherelle comes along, and we've watched the other video, but Sherelle, she comes along. She has a recording contract. She releases her first album. I'm recapping for those of you who have not watched the first video. I promise you I won't be long with this one. She records her first album. I Didn't Mean to Turn You On is released. It's 1984. It's a big hit for her. On the R&B charts, it has made an appearance on the Hot 100 or the Hot Billboard 200. It has made its appearance there. Probably the lower part of the pop chart. So maybe it's in the top, maybe it's in the 60s, top 60 or something like that. I don't think it's top 40, but it's somewhere around there, right? They probably released a couple more singles off of her Fragile album. By far her best album, the Fragile album. Cut for cut is good. So it's 1984. The record company quickly goes in 1985, and they put out another album on her, which means that they know that they have something good and they have to continue to get it while it's hot. Let's keep making this thing work. She was working with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and a couple of other gentlemen on the album. Like I said, great. The second album, pretty much Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. In 1985, she releases her single, Saturday Love. You Look Good to Me. Decent effort, right? Decent effort. Also, what happens in 1985 is that, I Didn't Mean to Turn You On. It's a remake now. That Robert Palmer, is it? He remakes the song. The song goes all over the charts, pop charts, so on and so forth. It's up there. Didn't do what it was supposed to do with Sherelle, but it does it with Robert Palmer, right? That's 1985. I've already said you got to feel a certain kind of way. We're talking about the making of an R&B diva, right? So we already know. What do we know about this? We know at this moment in time, there's some politics involved. Not so much with Sherelle's career, I'm saying, but in the music industry. We should already see that just based off making of an R&B diva. Because we see that. I already said Sherelle should feel a certain kind of way just in general. Set everything to the side about what you think and all kinds of conspiracies and all kinds of things like that. Set that stuff aside. It's just the fact that you had a decent hit with this song. And I hope that radio tried, when radio did, the record companies did, it made a pop showing for her. But all of a sudden, the same song goes up the charts for another artist, a Caucasian male. I'm just saying, it's just what it is. No brainer. So you have to feel a certain kind of way, but at the same time, what? You're going to be political about it, and you're going to say, well, you know what? It's good for him. Good for him. And if people hear his song, his version of it, then hopefully they'll find my version. It will only expand my audience. That's the political thing to say, right? Politically correct. And you move forward. In your mind, you're saying, what? Right? But you keep moving forward. And she's having some success with her High Priority album, right? She's having some success with this album, okay? I think it went gold. I think Fragile went gold too, didn't it? I'm not quite sure, but anyway. It's 1985. Something is about to happen in 1986. It's Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson comes along, right? Janet Jackson is having minimum success as far as the industry standards are concerned. Here's her first album, Janet Jackson's first album. You already know the reason why I have this album. Not only do I like Janet Jackson, but of course, Young Love and Say You Do and All That was written and produced by Renee Moore and A'ngela Winbush. So you already know. When it became available to me, I got it. Understand what I'm saying? So Janet Jackson, in her part of her career in the making of an R&B diva, she's pretty much going through the same thing, right? She's trying to find her way through all of this. Then all of a sudden, right, Janet Jackson, and she releases a second album. Then she releases her third album, Control. But what they do, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, for Janet Jackson is that they give her Sherelle's sound. Pause right there. Did they give it to her? Or is this just the Jam and Lewis sound? Because we already know when it comes to that sound is still familiar with Alexander O'Neal, right? So it's just the Jam and Lewis sound. There are some similarities with this album and Sherelle's album. It is. Call it what you want to call it. Go back and listen to it yourself. You'll see similarities. It's what it is. Now, when you look at Janet Jackson and what she's doing at this time versus what Sherelle is doing at this time, you have to just say to yourself, first and foremost, It could be the look, but definitely it's the sound. This here is very much soulful. She sings her behind off. Sherelle is an ugly singer. And what I mean by an ugly singer, like she's the one who, she, the one that put the hand up in the sky, they're about to hit the note. That kind of ugly singer. You see what I'm saying? Like, like you got to make the faces. You got to, you got to get rough with it and tough. No matter if you're in a skirt and heels. You understand what I'm saying? But you got to get ugly with that thing. Janet Jackson, on the other hand, she's not an ugly singer. She don't sing ugly, right? But she has the look. She has that sound, right? She has those dance moves, all of those things working for her as well. That could easily cross her over to pop audiences, right? Not to mention that she has the Jackson name. I know what a lot of you guys are saying, but at the same time, there was a time she was doing it and it wasn't working. Whew. But notice, Janet Jackson's album is about control. It's about taking control of your life, right? And she teams up with Jam and Lewis to take control of her life. And Jam and Lewis has said the thing about this album, Janet's album versus this album in her second album, is that this album and the other album was like, okay, well, here's some songs, blah, blah, blah. They might sound good for you. We think these are going to be good songs for you. Sing them, right? That's what they've said, been quoted as saying. With the Control album, Jam and Lewis always talks about, how they just sat down with Janet and they really want to fill her out and see what she was about, so on and so forth. That's what they've said, and this is what we get. The Control album. But isn't it interesting? Because Sherelle is an R&B diva. With this album, her fourth album, she's saying, I want to do the same thing that Janet is doing. I want to take control of my career. There are some things that I want to do in my career. I want to take control of that. Right? We just following me, I'm not going where you think I'm going sometimes. So just bear with me. So that's what she's saying. I want to take control. All right? Of my career. As a matter of fact, if you come up to me, you tell me that I only have a career because I'm working with Jam and Lewis, and that's the only way I'm going to have a career, then you know what? No, thank you. Good day. I'm gone. And it sounds like to me, it's not so much that she's dissing anyone per se, as much as she's saying, hey, I want to do more things. I would like to think that I have a career outside of Jam and Lewis as my producers. Hold on for a second. This thing gets deep. We need to talk. Because, well, Jam and Lewis gives us High Priority, Fragile. What's the other one? Affair. They give her that sound. Right? They give her the sound that we don't get on this album. The one she's taking control of her career with. We're talking about the making of an R&B diva. Here is where I'm about to go. And we're at the 20-minute mark. I hope you're still around. It seems to me, in the past, I would tell anyone who's interested in being in the business, the music industry, it's always have been about contracts, right? That's it. Make sure your contract's right, so on and so forth, the deals, blah, blah, blah. Make sure, blah, 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 right? It's always about the contracts. But we never talk about image. We only talk about image after the fact, but never before. But we must know that this is coming up as the album is either being produced or after it's produced. Okay, we got the sound. Now, how do we want this artist to look? Follow me. We're talking about the making of an R&B diva. And so what I am asking myself at this moment in time, is I'm saying I don't think artists at this time, I don't know about now. I don't know about now. I promise you I don't know about now. Were they approaching record companies at the time with the understanding of who they are, whose they are, and whom they serve? You understand? I don't know. Jodeci just crossed my mind. Let's talk about Jodeci. I remember when Jodeci first came out, and the gentleman always said that, Puff put them in some real rugged kind of situations, for them to have the image that they had. So they was definitely put in the thick of things, and surrounded by some some rough characters, people who have rough edges. I'll put it to you like that. And so when they came out wearing, the boots and so on and so forth, we were more convinced of their image, right? I don't know why Jodeci came to mind. But we're talking about the image now. I'm going somewhere. It's going to come together. I promise you have to follow it. Then I think about Jody Watley. I remember Jody Watley saying some things. Jody Watley was basically like, when she left Shalimar, she already had some songs recorded. She already had some images, some pictures of how she wanted to look, how she wanted to be. When she came to the record companies, these are the songs. Here's, she already had cut out, pictures and saying, okay, I want to kind of look like this, that, and the other, right? So she kind of already knew how she wanted to be, Jody Watley, her look. But not all artists go in like that. So I would say now to an artist, I would say, but do you know how you want to look? Do you really know what your image is? What you want to put out? I think about Denzil Washington. I remember Denzil Washington saying about a certain role that he was offered. And he pretty much was like, hey, I don't want to play this role. Because if I play this role, then I'm going to be typecast and I'm going to play this role throughout my career. I need to be very mindful of the roles I take. A lot of artists, actors are like that. You don't hear a lot of singers saying that. You don't hear a lot of singers talking about being typecast until after the fact. You never think that you can, no, you never think, let's talk about Sherelle. This is good. Her first album is good. Her image, everything is right on T, right? It's good. The only thing that worked against her was the fact that she's an R&B diva and she has soul. That's it. That's it. That's the only thing that worked against her in her career. The reason why I guess she wasn't selling multi-platinum albums and she didn't have her songs in the upper reaches of the pop charts as well. She's a soulful singer. Or is it? Let's keep going. So now what I would say to an artist, I would say, okay, yeah, you want to be in the business. Back in the day, they would tell us, oh, well, it's 90. Oh, gosh. It's 90%. It's 10% show, 90% business, right? That's what we would be told back in the day. Oh, gosh. I don't know. Oh, gosh. 90% business. Okay, I think I'm good. You guys just bear with me for a second. Oh, hold on for a second. Bear with me. I have to fix something. Someone would say it's 90% business. I mean, yeah, and 10% show. Oh God, I was about to make a point. I can't remember what the point I was making. I'm trying to work on this lighting, you guys. 90% business, 10% show. And you got to make sure that your business is together. We talk about the contracts, but we don't talk about image until after the fact. And by that time, you have an image, but let's just say the image is not working. And what I mean by the image is not working, it's a negative image. Well, even at that moment in time, though the image is negative, but even in the industry views negative press as good press because good press, bad press, it doesn't matter. People are talking, you're selling records. People, your name, people are talking about you. It's good. Do you see what I'm saying? Which means now you're selling records, no matter what it looks like. So then you continue to play that role, even if the image is not a good image. Oh, Lord, where are we going? I don't know. We're about to get that up. You follow me? But not a bad image. So if it's not a bad image, what is it? So then at this moment in time, I would think to myself, I would say, well, it's your team. It's your team. It's your team, right? It's your team. Because you have Janet Jackson letting people mold her, right? Telling her what to do. And then she said, no, I'm breaking free. I'm breaking loose. I'm breaking out of this. With the Control album, right? With Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, as her producers. The guys who are coming in who probably saying, well, okay, let's just see what we can do. Well, I mean, it's working with Sherelle. We know it's working with Sherelle. Let's see if we can do the same for you. They're not probably thinking that this album was going to be the album it was going to be. They're just mimicking what they did with her and what they do. They're giving her the Jam and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis treatment. They doing what they do. Whew. So now, what it comes down to you having a team of people behind you to support you then, right? So, I was about to go there. Maybe not right now. So then you have to have your record company behind you to support you. You have to have your management behind you to support you, right? I'm just throwing it out there. People have to what? Knock doors down for you. Record company has to promote. You just have to. But what about the producers? Do the producers play a part in the making of an artist? What do you mean? Well, let's just say sometimes you can have a lot of producers on one album, right? Has it ever been the producer's responsibility to promote the artists when their song is out? Probably not. Well, why would you ask that question? Well, if you're working with Jam and Lewis, right? If you're working with Jam and Lewis, I'm just asking a question. I'm not saying I'm right, but I am asking the question. And what's the question? The question is this. Did Jam and Lewis do any kind of promotion for Janet Jackson's album, Control? I remember Teddy Riley saying when it came to Michael Jackson, and he was working with Michael Jackson on the Dangerous album, that he said that Michael came to him and was like, why are you not talking about the album? And he's the producer, like, you should be talking about this album. You know, we're working on this album. You should, you know, be talking about it, like letting people know you're working with me, what we're doing, so on and so forth on this album. And I think Teddy Riley was saying something like, well, no, I didn't know if you wanted me to say anything because, you know, sometimes artists can be, you know, run a tight ship. You know, everything's hush hush, don't say anything. I want people to know who I'm working with. I don't know what's going on, this, that, and the other. But Michael Jackson obviously understood, I need you to talk about this and build this up, because if you're not, you know, really into this album and building it up and talking about it and making it the big thing, this is not going to work. So did Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis do that at all with Janet Jackson's album? I'm just asking questions. See, forget, you're going to miss it if you're looking at it from a different perspective. I'm talking about the making of an R&B diva and making it work. I'm not saying that they didn't for Sherelle. I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. But I don't remember Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis showing up in any of Sherelle's videos. If they did, forgive me. But I know I remember seeing them in the Control video, right? I remember that, you know, showing up in the video. Whew. So I guess basically what I'm saying is Janet Jackson went from this to this, which means there was a whole lot of people playing their part and role. That's where I'm going. It had to take a lot. She had to have a team of people behind her pushing, making sure that this album was the album. Okay? Do I have another album in here? I'm going to talk about another album. Where's the other album? I'm going to talk about this other album that I've talked about. There's another artist in here, if I could find her album. But they was pushing it, making it the album that it was supposed to be. Talking about Jam and Lewis. They were doing that. We understand that that's what they were doing. Okay? Oh, I don't see the album I'm looking for. Hot diggity, dog diggity, dog. But they were really pushing it, making it the album that they knew it would be. Oh, gosh, I'm looking for an album, y'all. And I know I have it. But do you understand where I'm going with this thing? If you don't, you should. You should by now. Oh, where I'm going. I'm trying to prove a point, Lord. And in proving a point. Okay, here it is. See? This album. This album. Tina Turner. This album. Tina Turner said, wait a minute. Her management said, we're going to get this album, the one we want. We can't record it in the States. We can't do it. If we want the album that we want, can't do it. They had to leave the country to record the album that they knew that they could get. Producers, so on and so forth. And the record company wasn't even supportive. I'm going somewhere. Oh, Lord, I don't think I have that album. I'm going somewhere. Where's the other album? Oh, I don't have the, oh, where's the cover? But anyway, I don't have that particular album cover, but that's fine. Whitney Houston. We're going somewhere. I'm proving a point with the Sherelle thing. We got Whitney Houston here. It's just one of her albums that I have. Clive Davis supporting her career. The executive, the CEO of the company. She doesn't have an album yet. He's making this a big thing, like, hey, I need songs. I need for you. I'm holding workshops. Like you guys who out there can give me the hits. And at this moment in time, he's just seeking out people. Do you follow me? So you have to have some support. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for that conversation. Well, Sherelle is on Taboo. That's the record company. Maybe they did put everything that they had into it, and maybe this why it got to where it did. They did the same thing for her. They really put everything out there to try to make it pop for her. The people over at Taboo, they were not the Clive Davises, even though Clarence Avant, is somewhere around the picture. So what you got Magic. It was the politics of the record industry, right? The music industry, the radio industry. Now we don't want that played on our. There's no format for it. This is not what we're going to play. They could have easily took one look at it and said, "Nope." Didn't even listen to it. It's possible. But then that's when you have other politics and things coming into play. So that's why I said we're having this conversation regarding the making of an R&B diva. And we're just using Sherelle because, she would fall into that example right now. And I'm covering her music. So it's 1986. I still say you got to feel a certain kind of way. So this is a good place to now talk about the fact that it's 1986. Janet Jackson has showed up. We're not going to hear from Sherelle for another, 3 years musically, because 1985 is her second album. She's going to show up again in 1988 with the Affair album. Now, the Affair album, to me, it's a good album, but it could have been better. And when I finally listened to the album to me really starts taking off during the second half of the album. It's the second half of the album. So by the time you get to track 7, that's when the album starts becoming the album where, I can play this from track 7 all the way down to track 12. I'm liking it. I'm digging it. But those first 4 songs on the Affair album, I'm saying, no way. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Alexander O'Neal said something before when he was being interviewed once, and he was talking about, did you really write much at all, as far as like royalties and whatever? And he made the comment like, I really didn't think about writing when it came to Jam and Lewis, because it was always writing the hits. I just never really took upon myself to do any of those things, when it came down to it. And if it is what it is, if he, felt like he, didn't want to. But the question is what I was about to bring up is that, okay, so with Janet, it's something totally different, right? With Janet. Because what you have here is you have an artist such as a Janet Jackson who's basically saying, I am wanting to take control. There are things that I want to say, things that I want to do, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. I'm really wanting to push the envelope, if you will. My family, it's a big, it's a big name family. That Jackson name goes far, and I'm pretty sure there was a whole lot of, press as far as, wait a minute, control. She's talking about her. She's talking about Joe and Catherine, and you see what I'm saying? So there was a lot of press behind this. Just the fact of the statement of what she was saying and what she was about at this moment in time in her life. So it was easy for Janet to go from here to here. Maybe it wasn't easy for Sherelle to go from here to here. Because by the time she gets here with the Affair album, as I said, it's a decent effort. It's kind of uneven. I would say out of all the albums, well, out of her first two, the Affair album is the most uneven album that she had recorded by this time. Because for me, Fragile, I can hit play and listen to the entire album. I could pretty much do the same thing with High Priority. However, there's some slow moments in the album. And I'm like, oh, okay, let this play, hurry up quickly, and then just get to the next one, or probably skip a song or two. With the Fair album, I'm not even playing that first side for the most part. But then again, a song like Affair is such a good song that I could see her racking up just sales along with the Affair single, period. And then she comes right back with Everything I Miss at Home, and it's #1. So definitely the momentum is there. We are definitely digging what Sherelle has to offer. That's the truth. But we're talking about the making of an R&B diva. So by the time Sherelle is at the point in her career where she's saying, damn, Lewis, I like you guys. I love you guys a lot. You've done great things with my career, but I'm ready to do what Janet Jackson is doing. I'm not saying that's how she's saying it. I'm just throwing it out that these are the similarities. Janet Jackson just so happened to be, there. Okay. But she's doing that. Because by this time, Janet Jackson has had this, and she's about to do this. And this is the Rhythm Nation. Oh, gosh. And if this was Sherelle, this is Sherelle on steroids. You understand what I'm saying? Do you feel what I'm saying? Because it's still pretty much the same sound. Interesting. It's just interesting. The making of an R&B diva. I was thinking just now. What was I thinking? I'm glad you asked. Janet Jackson being so heavily involved in her career, right? At this time, being as heavily involved in her career as she is, the question now you have to stop and ask yourself is that, ooh, should I ask it that way? Maybe the choices and the decisions that Janet Jackson made for herself really and truly paid off versus someone like Sherelle, maybe it didn't pay off. Well, okay, I'm glad you brought that question up. This is the year 1991, right? It's 1991. It's 1991. Now let's get some things out the way real quick. Kind of stating what we would call the obvious. And what is the obvious? The obvious is whether or not Sherelle is having success with Jam and Lewis. Now, we can't deny that she's having success with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. She's definitely having that. But she could argue when it's stagnant. Like, here I am. This is pretty much where I'm going to be. I'm on the R&B charts for sure. I've got gold albums. But I know that I can sell more albums. I know that I can really expand my career, broaden my career. You know, I guess everything is about that pop audience, right? I know that I can do these things. I'm a talented sister. I can do it. And she could easily be just as frustrated as another R&B diva. Do I have her album out? She could easily be just as frustrated as another R&B diva who I've talked about over here, right? And who is that R&B diva? I'm glad you asked. Let me see. She could easily be just as frustrated as this R&B diva, Phyllis Hyman, which is 1991 too, by the way. Both albums, 1991. She could say, I got the goods. I can sing. What? Just as good as all these other divas out here. I can do it. This can be done if you just work your magic. And she didn't mind saying there were some singers out. But y'all just look good. You can't sing. She was saying that during this time. She was letting it be made known. Do you understand where I'm going? That's what Phyllis Hyman was saying. The same thing pretty much, you know, a lot of divas at the time are saying. The making of an R&B diva. So is it the decisions then at this moment in time that the decisions that Janet is making are paying off, and maybe the decisions that Sherelle made didn't pay off then? Well, what do you mean? At this moment in time in this video, here's what I'm going to say. The conclusion that I am coming to is that all of it, you have to consider all of it. The conclusion that I'm coming to when now that I'm thinking about the music industry, the conclusion right now is that, baby, as I said before, you're in the music industry, baby. And I guess this is the executive hat that I'm wearing that I don't want to wear. You're in the music industry. I don't, what? I don't know what you're trying to do, but over here we sell records. Really. We ain't trying to make people feel good. We're trying to sell records and make money. What? You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what you know. So now I'm looking at these executives now, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, okay, go over there and feel good, sing your feel good songs. We understand that's what you want to do. But right here, we sell records. That's what we do. We sell them. And if you're not doing that, I don't know why you're in the business. Right? I'm just saying. Oh gosh, I don't believe I just said that. But I said with some understanding. Not that I agree with it, but I understand it now. So you need to consider everything. You need a team of people. You can't do it by yourself. You really do need a team of people. You do. It takes a team. And it really takes a lot of people to help you get to the point of you becoming this superstar, diva, if you will. Make no mistakes about it. And then there are politics still involved. Wow. I think what happened with Sherelle in this album, and I remember this album when it first came out, I do. And when I heard the song Tears of Joy, I was like, okay. But that's how I was. I was like, okay, I like it. But it wasn't like, did you hear that Sherelle new song? Man, I love it. I mean, I'm liking that. It was like, oh, okay. She has a new song out. Oh, how you? I like it. It's nice. And that was it. And if you just so happen to stumble across it and you know, you're like, oh, okay, I'll buy it, and you kept moving. Why? Because her image had already been ingrained in all of us about how we knew we wanted her to look, how we wanted her to sound, the things we knew we wanted her to sing about, or, you know. So when she comes in with a ballad like Never in My Life, and you are thinking, man, she can really like sing her behind off. But you look like, but is that her? Who's she trying to be? You see, in your head, you're like, who's she trying to be? Who are you trying to be? Which then opens up another question. And that question is, you have some artists out there who've been in the business for a long time. I mean, career, decades, stood the test of time. And yes, they'll thank God for their career, you know, so on and so forth. But I think about the group, the Isley Brothers, who basically, you know, Ronald Isley has said, hey, we kept our ear to the ground. You know, we always listened to what was hot at the time. That's how we stayed relevant. That's how we stayed competitive. That's how we were able to stay in the business for 50 plus years and sell the records we sold, and how we were able to stand the test of time when certain albums wasn't selling, you know, the expectations that, you know, was, you know, put on them. You know, we stood the test of time because, you know what, we built up that good quality catalog. Which then opens up another question. But some artists do that, and they can change their image as well, and it still works. And we don't look at them like we would do. Well, I'm just gonna say in my mind, a Sherelle, like I did. Like, who is she trying to be? Like, okay, oh, she's trying to be a diva. You know, she's going that diva route. She's going that Mariah Carey route, Whitney Houston route. Who else is out at the time? That Lisa Fisher route. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? She going that route. She's trying to be that diva. You know she can do it. But then, as executives would say, you might not want to do that right now. Right? You might want to hold up. You know, you're going to really freak out your audience. You know, they're not, you're going to confuse them. It takes a team of people to really go in with you and make it work, and not passively. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I like it. That's all, I mean, yeah. I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm saying I'm just throwing things out, making up a diva. I don't know. Looks great. And there's really nothing wrong with the image. There's nothing wrong with anything. But then when I hear the album, I'm like, okay. Then when I see who she's worked with, Narada Michael Walden, I'm like, really, Narada? But then you got politics again. Well, what do you mean you got politics? Well, you ain't no need me lying. I'm just throwing it out there, just food for thought. You don't work with some big name divas. So what you doing over there giving her, the hits that you could have gave me with that? Don't don't go over there trying to you never know. You never know. Don't go over there trying to, start nothing over there. I mean, go over there and work, but now don't be hooking people up like you hook me up. I'm just saying. You just never know. I'm making up an R&B diva. Still so many questions. So it's 1991. And there's something else that is going on around this time too with another R&B diva. Another R&B diva shows up over at Taboo. Her name is Rhonda Clark. If you don't know who Rhonda Clark is, don't worry, I'm going to talk about her. Rhonda Clark. Yeah, that Rhonda Clark. State of Attraction, Rhonda Clark. Stay Here, Stay Near, who also worked with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis on Taboo. So there's another R&B diva over there. Along with Sherelle. I'm just saying. But then she shows back up again, Sherelle does, in no, it's not 19, it's in the 2000s. When did that album come out? Oh, no, it was 1999, actually. So she shows up again in 1999 with the album The Right Time. And we're going to kind of stop right here. I think I can do this in about 3 minutes. And so basically what she does with this 8-year hiatus that she's had from recording is that it's like she goes back in, she does another record, and she goes back to that familiar territory again. The one that she strayed away from. But with the Right Time album, what ends up happening with that album and what I like most about it is that she's kind of in the middle of it. And I think it works, but by the time 1999 comes around, you already know how I feel. That, I stopped listening to the radio in 1997, 1998. So by this time, 1999 comes around, artists such as Sherelle and the other, these types of artists, they're being pushed off the map, so music map, so to speak. So if the album could have done well for her, or if it was a good album, you never would have really seen the light of day because at this moment in time, it's kind of like, oh, okay, she has an album out, good for her, and then they kind of push these her, the artists that came out with her, I'll put it that way, then to push them out. It's interesting. Well, it's an hour video. I think I could stop right here and say, well, if you stayed here with me this long, then you know what? It's appropriate to say, go ahead on and hit that subscribe button. Hang out with me. We're talking about R&B divas. And also remember, over here, I believe in putting your behind where your heart desires to be. And whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always tells me, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. And that's what I'm saying. I love you. Take care of yourselves out there. I hope you can feel the love. I thank you guys so much for your support. And I look forward to seeing you next video. And until then, take care of yourselves out there now.